Now let's close things off with number 7 of my top 10 favorite John Cena matches. So, quick recap. Number 10, I had John Cena Randy Orton from Bragging Rights 2009. Number 9, it was John Cena vs. Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown. I believe that was September 11th on 2003, the Parking Lot Brawl. And then last week, it was number 8. It was John Cena versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 2015, Winner Take All. So number 7 here is a match that happened in 2006. It happens to be my favorite rivalry in WWE history. And this match actually took place in one of my favorite pay-per-views at Unforgiven 2006. John Cena challenging Edge for the WWE Championship in a TLC match in the main event. So, what can be said? Everyone kind of knows the story with Edge and Cena. If Edge is not John Cena's greatest rival, he's in the top 2. You can make an argument for either Edge or Punk being John Cena's greatest rival. I still say Edge. I think Edge was a better rival in terms of character-wise and storyline-wise. But as matches, I would probably say Punk. But, I'll get to that another time. But this goes back when Edge won the Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania 21. He was the inaugural Money in the Bank winner. And he'll hold on to that briefcase for a very long time. And also during that time, John Cena was holding the WWE Championship. That's when Cena won his first WWE Championship. So again, it's kind of like this story kind of started from here. From WrestleMania and then moved forward. So during that time, Edge was still holding the briefcase, and Cena was the WWE Champion for almost that entire year. So at New Year's Revolution in 2006, the first pay-per-view of the year, Cena went to defend the championship in the Chamber match, which he retained. And then that's when the infamous moment came when Edge came out after Vince McMahon announced that Cena would defend the title against Edge. Edge cashed in his briefcase, and he beat Cena to win his first WWE Championship. And that's when we had like the Live 6 celebration on Monday Raw. And a lot of people, that was a ratings draw. Like Edge was a draw when he won that WWE title. People tuned in to Raw. They were watching WWE. He was a ratings draw. Edge was, because it was just nothing you've ever seen before, and a lot of people loved Edge. They wanted to see him succeed. But Edge was just such a great job at being a prick. So during this feud, Cena would go after Edge, and they would get personal with one another. They had a match at the Royal Rumble, which Cena won. He beat Edge to become WWE Champion once again. Edge, I believe he had a rematch against Cena on Raw with Mick Foley as the referee, which then Cena retained once again. And while Cena went on to defend the title against Triple H at WrestleMania 22, Edge ended up defeating Mick Foley in a hardcore match, in my favorite WrestleMania match of all time. And my favorite match of both those men's careers, of both Edge and Mick Foley's careers. So they took a little bit of a break briefly with Edge and Cena, and then eventually they had Edge and Cena feud again. And it started on Raw when, shortly after the One Night Stand show, when RVD cashed in his Money Bank contract at One Night Stand and with the greatest crowd in existence, RVD ended up being John Cena thanks to assistance from Edge. And RVD held that WWE Championship for a few months, but then he was forced to drop it along with the ECW title because of the marijuana arrest that happened. So it's very long. So I'm kind of doing the Cliff Notes version to try to get to the point here. So later on Raw, John Cena and Edge both won the WWE Championship. And RV decided, hey, let's just have a triple threat match on Raw. And long story short, Edge won that match to win his second WWE Championship. And that's when the Cena-Edge rivalry really just took off. That's when we had Edge slapping John Cena's father. That was always gives me a good laugh. You see Cena storming the hotel room and attacking Edge, Edge getting thrown into a Long Island Sound by John Cena. Edge at SummerSlam cheating to beat Cena to retain the championship by using Knuckles, and JR calling one of my personal favorite spots, saying that son of a bitch. Just the way JR said the son of a bitch line always puts a smile on my face. I don't know why. It was great. But basically, Cena and Edge just went back and forth until finally, it was Unforgiven 2006. Edge was sick of John Cena. He was done with Cena. He wanted to just move along. And Cena came out saying, okay, fine, Edge. I'll leave. But I need something from you. I want the WWE Championship. One more title match with you. And if you win, I'll go SmackDown. A 3-year contract for SmackDown. Right on the dot. I'll sign it, no problem, if you beat me. But I want that WWE title match. And Edge goes, fine. But I want 2 conditions. I want to name where the match take place and what type of match. So he agreed. And Edge said that it was going to be at Unforgiven 2006, and which was going to be the hometown of Edge, which was Toronto, Canada. Great crowd. And the match was going to be a match that Edge never lost. It was going to be a tables, ladders, and chairs match. And Cena never competed. So not only was Edge going to have the home field advantage, but now he was going to have the match advantage. So that was the story they were telling. They're trying to really stack the deck that if Cena loses, he goes to SmackDown. He's gone from Raw for a long while. So, of course, Edge gets a great reaction. Cena gets booed. Similar, not nearly as brutal as something like RVD and Cena. That will always be the greatest crowd reaction towards John Cena ever. I love listening to that crowd. So this match happens, and the match was just great. It was great. The atmosphere was great. The match itself was great. A few innovative spots. There were some a few minor mishaps in this match. I'm not gonna come out here and say, but the match again, there was so much that happened on the show, and this was a show that was really one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. Orton and Carlito had a very underrated match, but it was pretty damn good. DX against Big Show and the McMahons inside Hell in a Cell. I think that's a really fun Hell in a Cell match they did there. Trish Stratus's retirement match until she came back years later against Lita for the Women's Championship. That was a really great match. It was just a fun match. So you cap it off with this main event. Some ladder bumps there. Again, I can't recap everything in this match, but besides the ending. So towards the ending, we see Edge and Cena. They're climbing up. And keep in mind, they're fighting over the WWE Championship, which was the Edge version of the title. Which, let's be honest, it was just the spare bet, which is Edge's logo in the middle of it. Which Edge even admitted it was stupid in one of the documentaries. I think there was feud with Cena when he talked about. He did not like that design. He apparently he came up with concept ideas for what the WWE Championship would look like, and he literally wanted a brand new custom title belt for himself. And a lot of these custom designs he came up with was pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. But WWE just went the lazy route. They stuck with the same template, except of the WWE logo spinning. It just had Edge's Ray R logo, so the belt was just a cheap knockoff. It was not good at all. So it always makes me laugh when Edge revealed that title and said, "Isn't it gorgeous?" You could just see right through Edge's eyes, like, God, this thing's a piece of crap. It looks terrible. But they're on the ladder, and they're fighting on top of the ladder. And Cena ends up grabbing Edge into a fireman's carry. Basically, he's going to hit AA. And Cena basically hits an AA off the top of the ladder. And he chucks Edge off his shoulders. Right next to Cena are a stack of tables. And Edge just crashes through those tables perfectly. It was double stacked tables. And the crowd goes nuts. Cena pulls down the title belt, and Cena, I believe this would be John Cena's third WWE Championship. He walks out, and he's not even celebrating. That's the one thing about this match, too, that a lot of people don't kind of get credit for. Usually John Cena would be like, yeah, I won, but he looked like he was in a war. He was tired. He was beat up. He just looked like, this is it. It's done. He hugged his dad, which his dad came by and walked away to town. John Cena would hold on to that belt a little bit longer until I believe he got injured. He would actually hold on to the belt for almost another full year before he would have to relinquish it due to, I think, a shoulder injury. And that's when they gave the belt to Orton. They did a trade-off with Orton and Triple H for a bit, and then it'll be the age of Orton, and then Cena would come back, and the rest is history. And Edge would never really get a world title match until he was drafted to SmackDown after he won the briefcase a second time by pitting Mr. Kennedy and then cashing on Edge. Edge would never be world champion again until he went over to SmackDown. So it was a while before Edge actually became a world title holder again. But this match just proves that Edge was still this great heel. He was a slime ball, but he was a slime ball we all loved. I'll always be an Edge head, and this was the feud that really made me a fan of Edge. But John Cena played the babyface role perfect. He wanted to beat down the evil heel Edge. It was just, again, I can't recap every single little detail because so much happened, but it was, I like to call a perfect babyface heel role, even though more people probably would cheer Edge and Cena. But in a perfect world, John Cena was the overall good guy. He was a guy that was happy. He wanted to be the fight champion. Edge would push Cena to the limit and find all these ways to win or cheat and just be a dastardly asshole. And, of course, having Leah in his corner was just icing on the cake. But like I said, the feud is just fun. It was great. They had some great chemistry, and I think this was their best match these two ever had. I mean, they had tons of matches, and they're all pretty damn good to great. But in my opinion, Cena Edge here at Unforgiven, their TLC match was probably their best match, and the ending was just a great little send-off. Just Edge getting chucked off the ladder through two tables was always a fun spot. So it was a brutal match. It was fun, though. It made Cena to still star, but it even made Edge into a star. And then later on, like I said, when he got drafted to SmackDown, he was one of the faces of SmackDown. He was. I mean, Edge admitted that if he stayed on Raw, he would have been overshadowed by guys like Triple H and John Cena and Shawn Michaels. And, of course, Orton was on the rise. So he would have been lost in the shuffle. But once he came to SmackDown, he was one of the SmackDown top guys. And he was up there with guys like Batista and Undertaker, which, fun fact, he feuded with both of them over on SmackDown. So Edge became the top heel on SmackDown and one of the faces of SmackDown. So it ended up being a beneficiary for Edge in the long run. But this match was great. The rivalry is fantastic, and it's just a lot of fun. This match is a lot of fun. It's a lot of carnage. It's just a fun TLC match. I just thoroughly enjoy it.